So this one's kind of off the cuff. It's completely unscripted, and this is just something I wanted to get off my chest. Something that I've been wanting to talk about for a little bit, and something that I feel like is very important in the general scope of things. Basically, I used to be Christian, and I'll go into that at a different time, but I am not anymore. But when I was, this is a story about when I was, something that someone did while I was Christian. I was in church. This is a preface, essentially. I was in church. We were doing worship or whatever. We were singing Reckless Love. I don't remember who it's by, but the song Reckless Love. And the title being fairly evident, it talks about how God's love will do anything for us, and how that insinuates that it's reckless. And that bothered me. That really bothered me. Mostly because I had read the Bible and I realized that reckless just doesn't work with the description of God's love that we are given in the Bible. So I thought on it. I literally stopped singing. I could not continue singing with such a blatant contradiction right in front of my face. So instead of listening to the sermon, I got out my phone, looked up the definition of reckless. It's, funnily enough, a synonym for reckless is devil may care. So that tells you as much as you need to know about that whole belief. And real quick, this is an interjection in post. I want to explain what I mean by this, because someone's going to be like, oh, you misunderstood what the song was saying. No, I understand perfectly what the song's saying. It's saying that God's love, or God would do anything for us because of how much he loves us, but that's not what reckless means. Reckless means not thinking or caring about the consequences of an action. But if you read the Bible a little bit, Jesus himself literally cried out to God, "If it were possible, please let this cup of suffering pass from me." Keep in mind, I was Christian for a very long time. I understand these things. And if that's not thinking about and caring about the consequences of an action, I don't know what is. Anyway, that really bothered me, and I started doing this with more songs. And of course I got ridiculed, like, oh, but it doesn't matter if the song is not scripturally accurate because it's still worshiping God. But that's just one whole, like, Christians refuse to question what they're given beyond small individual doctrines, right? Like, they will not question the very fundamentals of what they believe. And I understand that. I was in that camp for, let me think, 12 years. I just refused to question my belief in God because I was taught that if I did do that, if I doubted whatsoever, that God would, well, I would be punished for it, which is a horribly toxic belief to have. But anyway, I didn't stand up for worship anymore, and I was the only person in the church who understood worship who didn't stand up to worship. Like, there were little kids that didn't stand up. There were rebellious teenagers who didn't want to be there, who didn't stand up. I was the only one who knew what I was doing, and I still did not stand up during worship. And I got questioned a couple times, namely by a friend of mine. I won't point out names because I want to respect their privacy. A friend of mine he stood up next to me, and he looked over at me. "Why aren't you standing up?" So I talked to him really quietly, quote unquote distracting him from worship. I told him, well, look, because these songs, they don't stand up to scrutiny if you actually listen to them, and I don't want to sing these when it so clearly goes against what the Bible teaches. And he understood that, and I think he sat down with me. I don't know if it's because he didn't actually want to sing, if he felt embarrassed by singing, because I know I did for my first few years in church. I just didn't want to stand up and sing because I was just so out of the ordinary for me. It wasn't something that I felt comfortable doing, which makes total sense. Like, I wouldn't just go to something brand new, I don't know, atheist church and start standing up and singing out hymns to the not God. I don't know. But, like, I don't know if it was because he was uncomfortable and it was because I was discouraging that, or if it was because he understood what I said. I think that's irrelevant. Anyway, later, I think it was about a week after that, we were doing some church activity out in town. I think we were out, I don't remember exactly what we were doing, it doesn't matter, it's not important. His dad came up to me. I was like, hey, listen, you're telling my son not to worship in church? That's not okay. And I didn't rebuttal at the time. I said, well, I didn't tell him to. I said what I think, and I think that it's not, that the songs that they sing aren't good worship. And he didn't want me hanging out with his son anymore because, I don't know, I was going to poison his beliefs or something. But that's my main problem right there. That he told me to not talk to his son because I said something that he didn't agree with. That is awful. That is disgusting. That is horrible, horrible treatment. That's, yuck, so toxic. If your beliefs are not challenged, you're not going to grow as a person. And you're not going to be able to come to the truth. And sure, the truth can be scary, I understand that. It took me, I transitioned from Christian to agnostic in 3 days, and that was a rough transition. And I consider myself mentally really stable. So for someone like the average churchgoer to suddenly just lose all faith completely, or the average churchgoer to even question, the songs they've been singing for years, that's a big jump. That's a huge proposition to give to them. So I agreed to not talk to him, and that was the end of it from me to him. And now, as a non-Christian, it's really hard for me to go and talk to those people, because I know that they would feel bad for me, that they might try to reconvert me. I haven't actually come out publicly to all those people that I'm not Christian anymore, because the whole pandemic thing, I can't even go to church at this moment, all that stuff. Plus I live, 60 miles away from the church that I used to go to, all that stuff. But if I could talk to him and his son, I don't even know if they're Christian anymore, honestly. I would assume the dad is. I don't know about the son. He was an average teenager, so rebellion and all that. But if I could talk to them one more time, I would tell them, look, it doesn't matter what you believe, right? Because what I said still stands pretty well up to scrutiny, right? So it doesn't matter what you believe, and you shouldn't be trying to impose your beliefs on your son. And to the son, I would say, don't take your dad's beliefs at face value, because I did that for a while. I took my dad's beliefs at, I thought he was essentially infallible for the longest time, until I actually started going through and, scrutinizing his beliefs individually. I can't think of any examples. He said something, he misunderstood what theory meant, in the scientific sense. That's a mistake that everyone makes. Not everyone. A significant portion of people think that theory means that it's unproven, when in the scientific definition, it's basically, this is the best we can offer, we have evidence that pushes towards it, but instead people think theory means it's unsubstantiated. That's the word, I think. Anyway, when my dad made that mistake, I thought, oh wow, okay, I guess he's not infallible, let me go through and see what else he thought. Anyway, don't take superiors' beliefs at face value. Research for yourself. And for you superiors and for you teachers, don't impose your beliefs on your pupils, on your children, whatever. Let them come to their own beliefs. Give them material that will allow them to learn, no matter what your religion is. It doesn't matter if you're Christian, if you're atheist, if you're Buddhist, if you're whatever. Give your child materials to learn, including outside your own religion or your own, school of thought. Give them materials to be able to teach themselves and to be able to come to their own conclusions. Because maybe they'll read the Bible and then they'll read the Quran and be like, whoa, these things are similar. I haven't read the Quran personally, especially not as much as the Bible, so I can't say, what is what. But I can definitely see a kid seeing both these things, being like, wait, these are similar, so they must both be wrong, right? Or one of them is wrong. I don't know. I don't know specifics, but be open about your beliefs, please. That's very important. Be open about your beliefs. Allow your children and your pupils and your students and whatever, allow them to come to their own conclusions. Don't force your child to believe something just because you believe it. That's horrible, that's disgusting, it's gross. Don't do it. Please, I beg of you. Anyway, that's just something I wanted to share. It's been on my mind a little bit. And next video I upload should hopefully be about Minecraft, so that's fun. Thanks for watching this. I don't know how to end this.